just a short addendum to this particular film. Pastor Wohlers from Missouri, when we knew him in Mexico, Missouri, he and Carolyn, his wife, came to visit us. And so we went around to several places. And one of them was, for example, was to Tucumcari, south of here, about, I don't know, 10, 15 miles. And so we went through it. And unfortunately, I ran out of space. And then when we went up to the Davis Monthan Air Force Base, to the Air Force Museum area, why, I ran out of battery. So, anyway, that's why things seem to be kind of ended abruptly or whatever. We had a good time. They came, today is the 14th, and Valentine's Day, as a matter of fact, and they came a couple of days ago, and so they spent with us a couple of nights. They're going to be spending one more night with us, and they're going to leave tomorrow, which is a Saturday, and start heading back north by way of Phoenix, I think. Well, anyway, that's about it. Enjoyed the presentation that we got on this bus going around the Pima Museum, well, I guess it's the Air Force Museum, but of course they had about every plane you could think of around there. They said around 300 planes, and I have to believe them. There are a large number of planes. And so I guess that's about it. We just enjoyed the visit with them, rehashing old times. It's been many, many, many years. The last time I saw Pastor Dick Wohlers was in 1998. I think it was in June of 1998 in St. Louis at the convention, the Missouri Synod Convention there. And so I think that's all it's necessary. But I did want to add this a little bit so you kind of knew what the heck was going on. And so with that, I'll let you go. You guys look just fine. These are two badgers, right?
Right.
These are two badgers?
That's right, yeah.
From Wisconsin way?
Well, what's up for our big teeth, you know?
Yeah.
We find that.
Are there a lot of badgers in Wisconsin?
Yes, there are.
Mean ones.
Mean ones,
The only
okay.
thing worse is a wolverine.
Well, badgers are mean.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
But there are packers there too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, well.
Bigger bell tower.
right. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Own story to tell too. Like at the bullfight, sun or shade, whichever seat you want. I've mentioned several times that this place was abandoned in 1848 after only roughly 20 years of service, after all this effort to put this thing together, known as Tumacacori Mission. Why did they abandon it? Well, so often in history things happen for more than one reason, and this is no exception here. First of all, the persistence of the Apache threat. This was a time, 1848, right after the war that Mexico fought with the United States for exactly this and a lot of other territory in the West. And nobody was really minding the store against the Apache. The Apache sensed that and increased their raiding activity. So Apache raiding, fewer soldiers to protect Tumacacori Mission. And the question was, does this belong to the United States or does this belong to Mexico? The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848 did not resolve that question. it waited until 1854 when we had the Gadsden Purchase. So if you were here in 1848, you really didn't know which country you were living in, who would protect you from the Apaches and problems of that sort. Another one was that people were starting to gobble up land around here. These were primarily Mexicans who sensed the weakness of the mission system, said, let's claim some of that land, let's have it condemned, let's buy it. So the land base of the mission started shrinking as well. Finally, just like we read about in the paper or see on TV tonight, a nasty winter storm came through here in 1848, and it was a bad winter. Snow was quite deep, and the people said, this place is simply unsustainable. We can't stay here anymore. It's too difficult. And so the remaining families, who, by the way, had not been served with a priest for at least 10 or 15 years, they simply lost the sort of cohesion as a community, and they went north to Tucson where they'd feel safer. And so they did, and they left us behind. Now, the amazing thing is that probably some people thought they would eventually come back, but they never did, because the west, this part of Arizona, didn't really become safe for a long time after that. They just didn't want to take a chance on it. So this is the cemetery. In the long history of Tumacacori, whether during the Jesuit or the Franciscan period, we know of about 600 burials in that time, a lot of them victims of epidemic disease more than anything else.
Cholera? Cholera, maybe?
Primarily smallpox, measles, some flu epidemics. As we know, if you're not strong enough to withstand the flu, you're in trouble. And this is why a lot of us go to Walgreens in October, isn't it?
Yeah.
The old shot. Anyway, we have records for many burials, but unfortunately not for this particular cemetery. So there's only one person that we identify with any certainty. These 5 graves probably belong to people surnamed Soto, but we don't know which Sotos. They seem to have appeared here about 1880 or 1890, but again, no one kept good records, and it was just probably the family said, where are we going to bury your dead? Well, how about the old cemetery at Tumacacori? There were probably people from around the neighborhood.
In a hover, he could turn a 360-degree circle in his own shadow, bank the aircraft to the right or left without having to move the nose of the aircraft, and then when he puts those thrusters into the forward position, he can power that aircraft up to speeds of 700 miles per hour. The reason why that aircraft is a favorite with the Marine Corps, still being used today out at Marine Corps Air Station Yuma. The reason why it's a favorite with the Marine Corps is because of its vertical takeoff and landing capabilities. They can embed the aircraft or place it very close to the troops that they're supporting without the need of a conventional runway. The AV-8 Harrier. Now the airplane next to it here that we're looking at, this beautiful Blue Angels aircraft, that's the FA-18 Hornet, built by McDonnell Douglas. It's a carrier attack fighter airplane built for the U.S. Navy some 30 years ago. I'm going to let you in on a little clue. Here's how you can tell when you have built a really, really good airplane. The most elite flight demonstration team in the world wants a whole bunch of them, and they keep them for 27 years. That's how long the Navy Blue Angels have been flying the Hornet, for 27 years, and it's been in naval service now for 30 years. Good airplane, and that is an incredible long stretch for any military aircraft. The F-18 Hornet still being used by the Navy today. There's a much more modern version known as the Super Hornet that is still in production for the Navy, but that has been and will continue to be the Navy's air superiority fighter for quite some time to come, the FA-18 Hornet. Speaking of air superiority fighters, take a look on the left-hand side at the big gray airplane that we're looking at there, built by McDonnell Douglas, built as a long-range escort fighter. This would be the type of airplane that would be used to carry our nuclear bombers intercontinentally. This would be the aircraft that would provide that escort. Very popular aircraft with the Air Force. The Strategic Air Command used it as their bomber escort. Had the lowest accident rate of any U.S. fighter and held many speed records for many years, the F-101 Voodoo. Take a look at the little line here.
Dan, I looked it up in the book we got, and I looked it up in my little diary, which I kept illegally. And it said, oh golly, this was almost like fun. Nobody was shooting at us. We had very little flak and no fighters. So we were bombing a V-1 rocket site in France on this date, 70 years ago, the 13th of February. I don't know whether it was on a Friday or not, but we didn't get into trouble on that day. This might have been the only day that I got back without holes in the airplane. I don't remember, but I very seldom got back without holes in the airplane. So I was in the 390th. You're in the 390th Memorial Museum, and I was a member of the 390th Bomb Group. Way back there, way back there. I got there in 1943, flew my first mission in December of 1943 in a B-17. Well, as a matter of fact, it was a G model, just like this one, that I flew my first mission in December of 1943. We flew, and it was named Dolly. Let me explain how we got to Dolly. We got there, and we were assigned an airplane named the Royal Flush. I got sick, and they threw me in a hospital about 35 miles away, and my crew went out in the Royal Flush and got shot down. So that was the crew I trained with in the States. So then I was assigned to another crew, and they had already ditched one in the North Sea. Their airplane was in the bottom of the North Sea. So we got a new airplane. It was not brand new. It had flown 6 missions, and it was already named, it was named Dolly. So we flew 7 missions on Dolly, and then we went on a pass to London. The whole crew got a pass, and we went into London. We came back from London, and our airplane had been flown by another crew while we were gone, and it was shot down. So I missed another one.
You must have been the lucky one.
I was.
Everybody wanted you, huh?
I didn't know that at the time. If they had known that, they'd have been paying a bounty just to go with me. I flew 7 different B-17s, so it was amazing. It was fantastic to get all that done at the right time. Well, let me give you an idea of what the losses were. When I got there, they said if you fly 25 missions, you can go home. And I said, well, boy, that sounds easy. Let's get going. So then I asked what the odds were, the losses. The losses were about 5% per mission. So you figure 25 times 5%, that's 125% against you making it. So statistically, it was impossible.